We're ready.
Okay, Steve's going to take all this and put it together. Now, he's ready to go. So you state for me your name and the fact that you were born in Palmyra, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. My name is Gladys Hoover. I was born on August 8, 1919 in Palmyra on 106 East Cherry Street, where I lived all my life until I moved into this home.
Okay.
I was born on Palmyra Picnic Day.
Well, tell us about the Palmyra picnic. Was that a tradition in Palmyra?
Yes, for many years they would have what they called the Palmyra Picnic Day, and the people from Palmyra would go to the Hershey Park. And I can remember my father and many other people too would go up early with a basket or something, put it on a table, and
save your space.
Save the space.
Right.
And it was amazing that nobody ever molested anything. And then later in the morning we would go and take the rest of our things. They had games for children, contests for adults, and that was held in a ball field.
Okay.
Where they had the contests. And then in the evening at the band shell, they would award the prizes to the people that had won contests.
About how many people went to these picnics?
Oh, I think the whole Palmyra went.
Okay.
I was the only one, and my mother the day that
that day that did go. Well, that was in 1919. So
1919,
how
yes.
long did these Palmyra picnics
I don't
go
really
on?
remember when they stopped doing it, but I know that I went there for after I grew up and was a kid.
And when you were real little, you'd go up on the trolley? Is that right? Would you go on the trolley, or did you have a car?
Well, I think my dad had a car, if I can remember correctly. But a lot of people did go on the trolley, and I rode that trolley often. Used to go up to the swimming pool when I was a teenager, swimming, and we would ride the trolley up and back again.
What did your father do?
My father worked in Landis Shoe Factory, and so did my mother. But later on, I don't know exactly when, I'm lousy on dates, but he got a job as a custodian for the school, which was where now Interfaith is.
Okay.
And at that time it was elementary and high school, and I went to that school until I graduated. The middle school, which is now the middle school, was built and completed when I was a senior. Never went to that school, but we had our graduation there, and we did our senior class play in that auditorium, but we never went to school there.
Okay, great. Did your parents come, were they born in Palmyra, or did they come to Palmyra from
No,
work?
my father he comes from back in Siner somewhere. He lived on a farm.
Okay.
And my mother lived on a farm with her parents. And when her father was killed in a buggy accident, her mother moved down in near Womelsdorf, and then she remarried, and the man she married owned a hotel bar. My mother used to talk about. She didn't like it because when she'd have to go, she'd have to step over some of the drunks.
Oh my. But that wasn't in Palmyra.
No. I'm not sure. I think it was down in the Womelsdorf area.
Okay, all right. So you've lived here all your life. Was your husband a native Palmyran?
No. His family lived on a farm owned by, now I can't think of it, down outside of Annville. That's terrible.
On this side of Annville? On the
Yeah.
Palmyra side of Annville?
This side
Okay.
of Annville. And they farmed that like a tenant farm.
Mm-hmm.
And when my husband was in about 6th grade, the family moved to Palmyra.
Okay. So were you classmates? Is that how you met each other?
Well, I never really got to know him too well until we were in high school. That's when I really got to know him. But we didn't date then until after I was out of school and was going to college.
Okay.
And we started dating.
And did you go to Lebanon Valley College?
I went to Lebanon Valley College, was a music major, and when I graduated, I got a job down in Berks County in the Tulpahawken, no, that's not right. Long Swamp Township, that's what it was. And I taught, they never had music in that school system, so I had to introduce music to the one-room schools, and then they had another school that had kindergarten on up through 11th grade. And they went, from there they had to go into Kutztown for their 12th grade. When I started, these high school kids, some of them came to me, they wanted to have an operetta. Never had music, but they went. But I had some kids that had good voices. So finally I said, okay, we do it. And they didn't have an auditorium, but there was an orphanage near where I taught music also. And they agreed to let us use their auditorium to put on this. And the kids did a beautiful job.
To me, that's what makes school, when you have those extracurricular things that you can get involved with. Helps you get through the days of studying. That's great. That's wonderful. How long did you teach down there?
Only 1 year.
Oh, within that year you started the whole program and then did an operetta.
Well, I would have liked to have been around here.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have had a job around here when I graduated, but it was I was uncertain whether how long I would have it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got home, I called Mr. Longacre, who was one of the county superintendents at that time, and asked him if there were any openings, and he said yes. He had an opening for me, and it was one-room schoolhouses again, and I think every teacher should have an experience in a one-room school. They'd learn what it is to teach. But I took it, and I was there, I forget, 3 years or something. Then I quit, and I had Greg. And after Greg was a little, I don't remember exactly how old, I decided I'd like to go back to teaching. And we wanted to buy a house, and that was the only way we could do it, is if I was working too. And I called Mr. Longacre, and he said, yes, your old job is open. So I took it, and I was there. Then I ended up in Northern Lebanon School District, having taught a total of 33 years.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, when you went back after Greg was born, it was a one-room schoolhouse then, or were they converting?
I still had some, and they were in the process of merging, and when Jonestown and Fredericksburg and Union Township and all those merged, I said to the superintendent of the schools, couldn't I get a job where I stay put?
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave me a job in the high school, but there wasn't enough students in the music classes, and I was certified to teach English, so they gave me a couple English classes to make a full schedule. And as it built up that they had more students and more classes, more music classes, the English was taken away from me. But I enjoyed the English. I felt like I had learned more than the kids, because I had to study hard to stay ahead of them, because I hadn't done it for a while.
Right. So you taught music out of Palmyra. You taught it in the Northern Lebanon District, but I think you did some things with music as the years went by in Palmyra, didn't you?
Well, during the time I was off when I was having Greg, I substituted in Palmyra.
Okay.
And I substituted in the elementary, I substituted in the high school for Mrs. Fry when she...
Did she teach? I didn't realize that she taught in the school.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Until she had her son, probably.
What's that?
Until she had her son.
I don't know. No, I don't know the reason she quit.
Okay.
But by the time she quit, I was back in northern Lebanon.
Okay. Okay. Now, do I remember correctly? Did you have something to do with the Palmyra chorus, the community chorus?
Well, yes. When I retired, I decided I was going to go, and Mrs. Cabela had the choir, and I went in to sing, but at the same time, B. Shirk, who was accompanist, decided to retire from that. So instead of singing, I ended up playing the piano for them, accompanying them along with one of the other girls. I can't get her, can't see.
And about what year was that? I'm trying to get perspective on that.
Well, I retired in 1977.
Okay.
So it was right after that that I decided to go into the chorus.
When did that chorus start in Palmyra? Do you know?
Oh, that was in operation long before I got involved with it. I don't know exactly when they started that.
But Mrs. Cabela actually
Mrs. Cabela
started.
was the director.
So that, I know Mrs. Cabela was my music teacher when I was in high school in Palmyra. And so maybe...
She was mine too.
Oh, she was your teacher too?
In my senior year.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that. Okay, so she was
Yeah.
there from the time you were in high school through the time that I was in high school. And then was she retired when she did the community course?
Yes, she was retired. But she had moved away for a while.
Okay.
I think she had gone to Philadelphia with her husband, but then came back and got the job in Palmyra again. And she
Okay.
taught then. But I don't know exactly when she retired.
Okay, very good. Well, I know the 250th anniversary, it has utilized the community chorus in Palmyra
Yeah.
in the spring. And tonight we're actually going to have the community chorus singing again with the high school chorus. So there's
I've never heard them.
I haven't either. So I'm going tonight to hear them because I'm anxious to hear them and see what it's like. I would guess, you know, when Mrs. Cabela was there, a lot of people who had her in school then gravitated, once they had graduated and there was a community chorus, then they were familiar with her and really enjoyed being in that chorus. Great.
I enjoyed that, even though I was playing the piano instead of singing, but it kept me up on my piano playing.
Right, it would. Accompanying is not the easiest thing to do.
No.
Yeah. What other stories about Palmyra can you remember? We started by talking about the picnics in Palmyra. What were some of the, I know with teaching, it's hard to then get involved in community activities because you're very busy with your teaching. But through the years, did you get involved in church or community activities?
Well, when I was a kid, a teenager, I started singing in the choir in my church. And then our organist, that was when I was, I guess when I was in college, my organist decided to retire. And they asked me, and I was taking organ at that time at school, so they asked me if I would be the organist. So I ended up as the organist, and I ended up then later as the choir director. And so I had the senior choir, and I decided I was going to organize other choirs. So I organized a youth choir. It was really great, and so that went real well. And finally, I thought, well, then we need one for the children. So I organized a children's small children's choir. So I had 3 choirs and the organ job.
Oh,
And I did that for about 25 years. I remember when the youth choir got to a certain age, and we awarded them some certificates of some kind, and the preacher asked me if I would do it, so I got up and then I said, I hope these young people will all come into the senior choir. And when they were finished, my son went to the microphone and he said, I don't think I'm going to have a choice. And he didn't. He did come in the choir and he stuck with it. And so I did that for about 25 years. And finally decided I had enough. And I retired. And I'm not going into why I left the church, but I did, and we started going to First United Methodist Church. And I sang in the choir, and I also substituted as organist occasionally. And when Alden Bealey was there, the choir director, a couple of times that he was out of town or he was sick, he had me substitute as a choir director. And I was really thrilled because that he had enough confidence in me. And our choir was supposed to sing a general conference, and I had been away, and when I got home I got a phone call, and it was Alden, and he said something about if I'm ready for Sunday. I said, what are you talking about? Well, he said, I'm in the hospital. He said, you're supposed to be directing the choir general conference.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was familiar with all the music because I had practiced it too. So I took the choir to general conference, and that was a thrill for me to do that. And one of the things they did was the Hallelujah chorus at the end. And it was great. All those ministers in the congregation stood up and helped to sing it. So,
well, you've had some exciting experiences through music in your lifetime, haven't you?
I did.
That's great.
I don't play anymore. I can't see well enough to see the music. I can sit down and play by memory or by ear, you know, but I don't play.
Well, why did you go into music in the first place? What influenced you as a young person?
I guess because as a kid, I was always singing, and people, and in church they were asking me to sing. And I think that interest is what led me to go into music.
Okay, okay. When you look back over your lifetime in Palmyra, are there some significant memories that pop out at you?
Oh gosh. I remember they had a band, and the other thing, my father played in it at one time, but not then anymore. But they had a program down at, there was a USO down in Lebanon at that time, and I was just a teenager. And they were going to be entertaining, and somebody from I guess the director from the band came and asked me if I would go along with them and sing, and I don't even know what I sang anymore.
You were like the band soloist. And
what's that?
You were the band soloist.
That's the only time I sang with them.
Oh, okay.
But I went along, and I remember I had this white dress on, I had a long string of pearls on, and they announced me that I was going to sing, and I got up from where I was, and when I did, the string of pearls tore.
Oh, no.
And I just went up and sang, and I don't know who it was, went out and was start picking up all these pearls. I can see that still
Embarrassing moments.
Yeah, embarrassing moments. But I'm trying to think of anything significant that happened. You know, after I went to college and got a job out of town and was teaching, it seemed that I wasn't in Palmyra very much. I was always going to northern Lebanon and whatever functions they were having. And so I kind of missed out on some of the things that were going on because I wasn't around then.
That can happen. That's why I said with your teaching, a lot of times you don't have a chance to get involved in community activities. But your community activity was through your church, and you were very busy with that for those many years with your choirs and so forth. Great.
I got involved with, later on in years, with the senior citizens.
Okay.
And at that time, Floyd Spangler was the president, and he asked me whether I could get a group together to sing. And I said, well, I'll try. So I recruited quite a good amount of people. In fact, your father sang in it for a while.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
And I guess we were having some kind of a celebration of number of years is what he wanted it for. So we got a program together, and they did a good job. So good that we never disbanded. And every year at Christmas, they wanted us to put on a program, which we did. And I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy it.
This was for the Palmyra senior citizens and those who participated.
And then we were invited to sing down at Kindred Place. Somebody heard about us, so we were down there a couple of years, and entertained them. And well, it was still when I couldn't do it anymore. There was a girl that used to be my assistant organist at Bethany Church. She said she would do it for their Christmas, but she said, I won't do it permanently, and she never did. But she did get a program together for something, I don't know if it was for Christmas or whatever. And, but then after that, it just sort of went to pot. Nobody would do it, and I wasn't able to do it anymore.
But it sounds to me, as we've been talking, that you've had an influence on a lot of people in Palmyra from the time they were little, because you worked with the little children in your church.
Well, I hope it was good.
And well, but good or bad, it was. You definitely were an influence, and people will recall you. If I were asking those people, you know, their memories of Palmyra, and I would think you would be in them.
It's a delight to me to meet people who say, you were my school teacher. I was at the organ recital that our organist had on Sunday, and afterwards this woman came up to me, and she said, you were my teacher at Campbelltown. And she told me her last name. I said, oh, sure. I would have never recognized her, but I remember the name. And
well, that must have been a long time ago if it was in Campbelltown.
Oh my goodness, yes. That's when I came up from Berks County teaching. I graduated from college in 1941, so that goes back to 42, 43, when I taught over there.
See, she did remember you. You were in her memory all those years.
Yeah.
All those years.
And she said she was with a woman that I knew from Palmyra, and I don't know if they were talking about me or what, but anyway, she said, her friend said, well, she's sitting right over there. So they made an effort to see me after the program was over.
Isn't that nice?
And every now and then, I bump into somebody and they'd say, are you Mrs. Hoover? Yes. I had you as a teacher in school. goes back many, many years for some.
But isn't that nice?
It
As the
is.
recipient of that, I think that people should do more
I
of
just
that.
had a young man, well, I don't know how, on Sunday, I was at a dinner at another church, and he came over to me and he said, "You remember me?" And he gave me his name. I said, "Oh, sure, I remember you." And he was a twin, and he said, "Well, you remember my brother?" And I said, "Yes, I remember your brother." And it makes me feel good that they want to talk to me and introduce themselves as former students.
Now, you told us earlier, you're 91 years old.
Yeah.
That's a long time to live in
was
one
91 in
location.
August.
Yeah. Are you proud of Palmyra? I mean, would this have
Yes.
been, you chose to live here after, when you got
Right,
married, you chose to
right.
live here.
I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. Palmyra is familiar to me. It's so different, but you know, years ago it seemed like you knew everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but not anymore.
It's grown a lot, hasn't it? What would
Yeah.
you say, what are the changes that you perceive about Palmyra? What are the major changes that you think happened in those 91 years that you were here?
Oh my. You know, I never gave that much thought. I just went along with everything that was going on. I think the schools have changed,
In what way? In what way have they changed?
but I think they're for the better.
Okay.
I really do. And I'm proud of what I read, you know, the kids are doing, are able to do, which boggles my mind sometimes. And I can't think of anything.
I find it interesting.
The community, I think, as a whole works together when there's something that needs to be done, and that's encouraging.
And you've seen that happen through the years. So
Mhm.
that's not a change, it's a
Mhm.
basic value system that
Mhm.
was in Palmyra 91 years ago and is still here today.
What's that?
That's a basic value system that you perceived a long time ago
Yeah.
in Palmyra, but is still here today.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Was there anything else you want to tell us before we turn off the tape?
Can't think of anything.
Well, we appreciate that you,
I never thought in my wildest imagination, I'd live to be 91.
you just took one day at a time, is what you said
Yeah.
earlier. And maybe that's the way
Yeah.
to live life. Take one day at a time, and before you know it, it goes by. And here you are 91 years later, still a resident of Palmyra.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for telling us your story.
You're
Appreciate
welcome, I'm
that.
sure.
All right, Steve, what do we do here, about half an hour?